First, I want to start out, what we're trying to do tonight is an overview of the Marcellus Shale. Now, this presentation we're doing tonight is a little different than the presentations we've been making in a lot of the other counties. The main reason for that is over the last year and a half, Lycoming County has been way ahead of the curve. Your legislative folks, your county commissioners, the Natural Gas Task Force have been way more involved than most counties in Pennsylvania. They're much more ahead of the game. You've had the folks here from the Penn State Extension, Tom Murphy, who's here tonight. You've had a lot more education and background on this issue than most of the counties. So we tried to make things a little bit more advanced. You know, instead of Marcellus Shale 101, we're looking at Marcellus Shale 201 tonight. And hopefully we're not skipping something you want. But we want to talk about where Pennsylvania is now with the Marcellus Shale. You know, we're about a year and a half into, you know, the excitement that people have had about it. Looking at both the short-term future and long-term, what Marcellus Shale development is going to be happening here in Pennsylvania. Talk about some of the key issues, and then try to answer your questions. Who are we? The Marcellus Shale Committee is a joint committee of the Pennsylvania Oil and Gas Association and the Independent Oil and Gas Association of Pennsylvania. IOGA is the organization I represent and have been with for 15 years. The two organizations, working with a number of both local and national energy developers, decided there was a lot of issues, a lot of things we need to be doing on outreach to the public and represent our industry throughout Pennsylvania. That was the purpose of forming the Marcellus Shale Committee. And we're committed to doing a number of things: the long-term development of the Marcellus Shale, responsible use of water resources, advanced water treatment technologies, protect the environment, resolve landowner, government, and public concerns, and try to be a benefit not only of Pennsylvania's future, but to the future of the nation as a whole. Right now we have a significant acreage position under lease throughout the state, you know, basically from southwestern Pennsylvania, Greene and Washington County areas, all the way up to Wayne County in the northeast. But the clock is ticking on this lease investment. You know, these are, you know, relatively short term. The companies either have to drill and begin developing these leases, or these leases will expire and they will spend an awful lot of money for no return. So what's that mean? That means the drilling activity is increased. Rig counts are trending very favorable to Pennsylvania. Right now, most of the natural gas industry in the United States has come to a virtual halt. Gas prices, as we mentioned earlier, we were looking at, you know, gas prices in the $2.50 range. They're up a little bit. They're over $3 now. But contrast that with over $13 a year and a half ago. So because Pennsylvania is in a situation where these exploration companies are trying to learn what they have and protect these leases, we're drilling way more wells than most other areas in the country. The other good news is the early production reports that have been had throughout Pennsylvania have been very encouraging. Depressed gas prices has had an impact not only on the nation, but here in Pennsylvania with what we consider the conventional drilling, the non-Marcellus drilling. That activity has declined by well over 50% so far this year. The natural gas storage fields, Pennsylvania is one of the, if not the leading state with natural gas storage in the nation. The problem is right now, because we had a fairly mild winter and gas prices were low this summer, everybody, all the utilities and interstate pipeline companies, companies that own the storage, really pushed hard to get those pools full. So we're at roughly 95% or higher capacity in all the storage pools. Slow recovery in the industrial manufacturing. We all know on the nightly news just how bad the economy has been. It's impacted manufacturing. Our single largest load right now is industrial load. There is obviously a home heating load, wintertime use, that's very important to us. But to get stability in the marketplace and really to be financially successful in this industry, we have to have that industrial load. And a positive statistic, of course, is Pennsylvania's increasing rig count here in the Marcellus Shale. When I looked at this slide, I referred to this as the ugly slide. This is a shape of the pricing that we've seen here since January of '04 till today. It's not real pretty. As you see let's see, that would be roughly July of '05, we're at about 1370. We had another peak last year, but here we are right now, down, approaching, was as low as 250, now it's kind of inched back up a little bit in the $3 range. This is a tough market for our business. Regulatory-wise, things have changed quite a bit in the last year. One of the major needs of developing a Marcellus Shale Committee was the fact that Pennsylvania had virtually halted any kind of drilling for Marcellus Shale to get a handle on, in their mind, how they were going to regulate this industry. The result was a really complicated, complex method of regulation that just created layers and layers of paper rather than focusing on how it was going to help the environment. There's been a lot that's been done in the past year to streamline those things, so we are looking now at a far more improved predictability in the permitting approach. But in the past year, that's disadvantaged us over other gas-producing states because those states have much more predictability in their permitting processes. We're committed to working with the Department of Environmental Protection and with the government to come up with appropriate permitting, and we've come a long way toward that. For example, one of the things we've done here in the past year, we have virtually tripled the permitting fees for Marcellus wells in order to give the DEP the funding they need to have adequate inspection and permitting personnel to work with this industry and regulate this industry.